A king had 7 sons. 6 of his sons were grown young men. The last-born son was very small compared to the others. The king loved all his sons very much, but he paid more attention to his youngest son. His brothers were a little jealous of him, but mostly because he was the youngest, they loved to tease him and make little jokes. Sometimes, when the little prince was sleeping, they would come to his bedside and pour a glass of water into the other. They would laugh at the sound of the water, and the little prince would pee on the bed, and sometimes, when there was all the good food on the table, they would get the palace cook to make a dish that he did not like at all and tell him that he was a little boy who needed to get stronger and that he should eat it. Finally, when their father said, "Don't bother with my child," the older princes laughed and served him other good food. The little prince was a very good-natured and wise boy. He put up with his brothers' jokes and never disrespected them. One day all 6 of the little prince's brothers disappeared. Despite long searches, they could not be found. Finally, one of the guards said, "Sir, your sons used to go to the forest every night without your knowledge and come back in the morning, but since they didn't come this time, I think something has happened to them." The king was very alarmed. He said that an army should be prepared immediately, and whoever brought this on my sons should be punished. But little prince, Daddy, calm down. We can't send a whole army in one direction. Otherwise, the palace and the country will be without guards. Please let me go with a few of my guards to look for my brothers. The king said, "How can you? You are just a little boy. Your brothers are grown men and there are 6 of them. How can you expect me to send you into the forest where they are lost? Daddy, I promise that if I don't find my brothers in 7 days, I will come back and we will do as you want." Finally, the king thought about it and decided that he should trust him. Otherwise, when he was a grown man, he might be a coward and in need of protection. "All right. I trust you. Go, but promise me you'll be back in 7 days at the latest." "I promise, my father," said the little prince and left the palace with the men under his command. As he was traveling through the forest, he suddenly came across a huge black she-panther. The king's men were afraid that the panther would attack the prince, but the panther suddenly started talking. The panther looked at the little prince in alarm and asked, "What are you doing here?" The little prince said, "My brothers got lost in this forest, I've come to look for them." When the panther said, "Oh, I remember, I think you are talking about the 6 men I saw the other night," our little prince got excited and said, "Yes, my 6 brothers are missing. Do you know where they are?" The panther showed him a palace on top of a mountain and said, "Your brothers went to that palace and never came back. But don't go inside the palace, that palace is magical, there is a sweet woman at the door." He said, "Talk to her first." I also told this to your brothers, but they did not listen to me and entered the palace. The little prince thanked the tiger and set off for the palace. The palace looked so scary that even the guards were afraid to go there, but what can they do? If the little prince is going, they have to go. The closer they got to the palace, the more scared they got. It was raining, thundering, lightning, and dozens of owls were flying over the palace. At last, the little prince came to the door and knocked. A woman came out and asked him for help. "I am an eagle. I have chicks in my nest. When I was taking them food, I accidentally crashed into this door and now I can't leave here. The giant inside has no heart." The little prince asked, "How is it? Is it so bad?" She said, "No, it's very good, but he loved a woman and she loved him. But a sorcerer also loved her. To separate them, he stole her heart and threw it into a well. He turned her into a giant and imprisoned her in this palace. Since that day, the giant has been very unhappy. The wizard is dead, but the magic is intact. Then if we find the giant's heart, the giant will give me my brothers. Pretty lady, I'll help you too, but just wait a little longer." He said, and began to wonder where the giant's heart was. On their way back from the palace, they met the panther again. Explaining the situation to the panther, the little prince asked, "Do you know where the giant's heart is?" "Yes, I do. There is a beautiful house at the end of the forest. There is a duck in the well. He said the giant's heart is in that duck's nest. But beware. The duck has harmed many people who wanted to steal that heart. The little prince went with his guards to the end of the forest. He found the house. He tied a rope around his waist and went down into the well. The duck was glaring at him. The duck was about to attack the little prince. "Prince, you have the heart of the giant who lives in the palace in the forest. Please give it to me so I can take it to him." Poor man. The duck believed him and gave the box containing the heart to the prince. Returning to the palace with the box, the little prince confronted the unhappy giant and gave him back his heart. The giant suddenly became a normal person. Anyway, he was not holding the prince's brothers either. When the magic of the palace was broken, the palace suddenly collapsed. The woman at the door of the palace suddenly turned into an eagle and thanked the prince and flew to her nest. Her brothers were freed from captivity. When they came out of the palace with the giant, they realized that the panther they thought was an animal was the giant's lover. An old woman came out of the well and ran towards them, shouting that the spell was broken. They realized that the old woman was the mother of the man who had been made a giant by the sorcerer. The wizard had turned her into a duck too. The little prince invited them all to the palace. The king was very happy to see his 7 sons safe and sound. He made the wedding of the 2 lovers with his own hands and married them. The little prince's brothers now realized that they had to respect him. "We thought we could achieve everything by relying on our strength, but thanks to your wisdom, you saved both us and those people," and they promised to treat him like a grown man.